last
Everyone, can everybody stand and join the pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I get a roll call, please.
Yes, Trustee Gray,
Here.
Trustee Knuckles,
Here.
Trustee Hall,
Here.
Trustee Pribble, Trustee Funk,
Here.
Mayor Allen.
Here. Okay, quorum's been met. Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Can I get a second on that?
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? First item of business is citizens to address the board. This is an opportunity for you guys as citizens to address us. So each person will have 5 minutes. Open the floor to you guys.
I'll start. Casey Spitzer. Try not to ramble too much here. A couple things. Obviously, I'm scared about the state of the town right now, mainly coming to water and sewer. And I kind of want to first thing I want to touch on is our advisory committee. We've kind of been talking to you guys about that, and when I think of the advisory committee, I think of stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in our community? And there's a bunch of us, whether it's the restaurants. I know at the motel, our family invested about $200,000, and the thought was, and that was of our own money, not the bank's, and the thought was Dove Creek, at the time, I wish I would have known our infrastructure issues and probably should have done a little more due diligence at the time, but dying farming and mining community, right? I wish we could go back to the days of when uranium was booming and we had, 40, 50 kids in each class, but we don't, so it's like, okay, let's embrace tourism. And look around where we're located geographically in reference to the national parks and want to embrace tourism. That was kind of our thought, to build and provide more jobs for the town. So I would consider myself a stakeholder with that whole spiel. And there's a group of us that want to help solve some of the big problems we have. And it might take some outside the box thinking. We want to figure out a way to work with you guys. Respect this board, respect the volunteers that do it, but I think we're at a point now where board members, we're going to have to put in some more time and drill down. I think we need to come to these meetings prepared, ready to make decisions. It feels like maybe we're kicking the can down the road a little bit. I know that sounds like criticism, but I think we're at the spot where we have to take a little bit. And when you look at our sewer and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, our tarp and bubbler system to correct the ammonia, that was supposed to be done September 2024. I know there's funding issues there, but we're in May of 2026. Is the state going to come in and shut us down? I don't know. I'm personally, the more we dig into this, I'm scared of some of those issues. We also want to see the water solved. Want to see the water solved. There's a lot to talk about, but we're here to help. And I think we have to acknowledge how we got to this spot and acknowledge, I don't even want to say mistakes because I don't think they're mistakes, but there are things that happen that have put us in a position right now that we need some big solutions to try to solve. What else? Talked about the sewer a little bit. I would ask that we reconsider commercial rates just per tap, at least until we can get our sewer system figured out. Asking for a little relief on that. And I think when we look at our water and sewer issues, we have to be thinking we only have 500 or so taps. I know that's a plus or minus number. and there's gonna be more people asking to vacate those taps, so that may come down. But when you look at treating our own water, treating our own sewer, maintaining our distribution system, and we only have 500 or less paying customers, it may not be possible, and we may have to think of other solutions, looking at it that way. We're not Cortez where we got 10,000 taps, or Ones in the Water where we got 7,000 taps, or however many they have. And lastly, the town manager position opening up. I think it's critical for us. Like in my perfect world, if I could wave a magic wand, we would up our salary that we could offer. And I know can be restricted by the budget, but we would up our salary, work with the, is it ICMA and CCMA, the County and City Managers Association, and try to figure out somebody that's experienced and willing for a certain amount of money to come in here in an interim position to just get us straightened out. And that's not to say Lorraine hasn't done a good job, but I wish Lorraine was saying that she's leaving, but I really think that position is really, really important for our town, and I'd like to see an emphasis on bringing somebody strong that can help us. It's hard. There's big problems to solve, and a lot of us aren't city managers or have experience with treatment plants or lagoons and state regulations. You guys are a volunteer board, so we need that one person in our town to help us solve some of these issues. That's my opinion. I had more, but I kind of lost my train of thought. So yeah, I'm scared. We want to help, and I think it's going to take some work from the board, and you got some stakeholders here in the community that we're willing to donate some time and help problem solve. I think, Grant, you had a letter to the community back in, was that February, on Facebook, and there was a paragraph in there that said, we have an elected mayor and town board. If the community wants to be a part of the solution, fill the holes, run for the open seat, step up, and help carry the load. This cannot continue to fall on the same few people forever. I would agree with that statement 100%. I'm unfortunately not a resident, so can't run for the board, but am a stakeholder, and I know several other stakeholders and smart people that want to help.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I guess on my piece, I just want to know, like, as a board, what are you guys looking, like, how do you want us as community members to help? I feel like there's been some suggestions that have been thrown out there, and I know that there have been some grants that have been submitted, and the response we keep getting is, I went to the county commissioner meeting, nobody from the town was there, for the marijuana spill. I think that might be some way that we can get some money in our community. If the town and the commissioners can both get on board and help each other out. I know that there was a grant sent over to Lorraine, I believe, and the response we got back was, we're not interested. And so I just want to know, like, what can we do as community members to help? Like, what grants are you looking for? What are you guys looking for? I mean, I feel like, we're volunteers as well, but I don't want to waste my time if it's not something you guys are interested in.
Yeah, so I think I'll answer very briefly. Strategically, we need to work on something that Sally's been kind of spearheading, and that is a capital improvement plan. Not just digging dirt, putting pipe in ground here, but actually having a plan of what the total system is going to take, so that, we're not putting in line here that's not going to support future projects over here, and that they match up. And so I think that is kind of one of our first priorities. We need to figure out how to balance our budget, because we are upside down. And then as far as any grants out there that we could possibly get, we have to be careful about what grants we do get in for the enterprises versus the town. And so And then two, I know it was mentioned before, but we actually had a pretty big grant for the replacement of the water line from the river, and we turned that back. We didn't go for that because it was USDA, and the reason that we did that was because by the time we finished figuring out all the requirements that would have gone into that, we would have spent more on the admin of that and all the special studies that we would have had done, from environmental to archaeological, that by the time that we finished, we could replace the line for about the same as our cost share was going to be. And so we decided to go down a completely different route, and we acquired funding for that through Senator Bennett helped us with that money. It was administered through the EPA, and while we were working on that process to get that approved, we suddenly realized what a serious problem we had. And so we have transferred that money, and we are going to be putting that into our water infrastructure. It had gone from the pipeline to the reservoir, and now we're going to put it towards our infrastructure.
Is that the CDS funds?
What's that?
Is that the CDS funds?
It's the,
Yes, the CDS funds.
Okay.
What do you think?
so at this point, I think ideas of different routes that we can take. If you guys run across grants, that's awesome. Send them our way, but understand that some of them might not be applicable to us for whatever reason or another. But we will do our due diligence as far as looking into those, because we're not going to turn away opportunities. So, does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
I think
I mean, it just comes
better
across
answer.
as, I mean, when the response is not interested, it's like, what are you interested in then? I mean, people, well, we're working towards that, this is maybe something we can look at when the capital improvement plan is done, instead of just, we're not interested, then it just kind of throws us off as, like, well,
I think there was sort of a feeling that the increase was almost arbitrary. The rollout, in my opinion, I mean, this is my third meeting, so I'm completely new. There was a lot of information that was really eye-opening my first meeting as to what the actual costs were that Montezuma Water. We thought we had an agreement, we didn't have an agreement. They basically tripled their rates on us, so that tripled our costs. I didn't know that until my first meeting, so it wasn't an arbitrary. We need your support and understanding that it wasn't an arbitrary decision. We had to do that to cover the costs of getting stuff with it from Montezuma Water. We should have said go to the Montezuma Water board meeting and raise your voice there because it was completely unfair. But yeah, I think from my standpoint, I don't want to. It wasn't meant to be. We're not trying to be bad guys. We're just trying to keep our heads above water. There's a lot of things came to a head at one time, and it's been really ugly. So there's been a lot of information come to my desk that I didn't know initially. So it is going to be a tough, as Casey said, it's a tough road over right now, and hopefully we can make some headway in the next year.
I'd like to answer Casey and Andy's. If you guys really put together a committee and you guys are working towards stuff, I think that the best forum for that is that if you guys are working on stuff and you have some thoughts and ideas, that we set up a workshop where it is you guys and us, and we're able to just in an open forum have a discussion and talk about ideas and give you guys a history that you guys don't know, and you guys give us the perspective that maybe we don't realize.
Okay.
And I think that that's probably the best way to do that. It's really difficult to do, on a formal agenda, recorded meeting where we have time constraints and all the other business of, it's not really an open forum to have a productive, constructive, active work. Is that fair?
I think what we've been pushing for this whole time is just to be recognized So we're not trying to put something together. We have something together. We want to be recognized by the board that we are here to help, not here to hinder. So the fact that you're now recognizing what we're saying, we appreciate that. I mean, that's exactly what we want. Let's have that discussion. Let's move forward with that so we can be on the same page and assist.
Yeah, I'd rather solve it as a group of community members that want to keep a community.
That's what we want.
Because the reality is, that's what we're here for, and you guys are here for. So there's no personal gain on either side here.
Well, and I don't think it's a here and, or you guys and us, or you're here and we're here. It's us. We're here together. I mean, there's no you versus us or anything like that. We're, at least I don't view it that way. We're all here together.
And, I mean, I know it's added time and everybody's got tight schedules. I don't necessarily enjoy coming here and seeing 10 o'clock every other Tuesday, but I feel like it's necessary. So as far as setting up a workshop, how do you see that working as far as, because I'm the same way, I don't want it to be time constraints. I would like to see that happen for a while, maybe monthly outside of the regular Tuesday meetings or something along those lines, so that we can have the time to actually discuss some of our concerns and some of our ideas.
I would say probably when you guys are ready and then all the board members can meet, that we just set up and you can do it.
We're ready. But I mean, that's how urgent the situation is. So, I mean, I don't know how the board's availability is. I'd give up an afternoon if that would work better for.
I think it's her.
I'd give up an afternoon if the board could give up on.
That'd be choose.
Sorry.
So I have a question. This is just something I've been looking into. Yes, we are a town, but why can we not incorporate the town and become an incorporated entity? It's not a town. You still get to keep your post office. We still get to keep our name and free up a lot of grant money that happens. I know somebody else has made comment and looked into that. I've looked into it. I'm sorry I didn't bring my papers. But that is something we can look into, and that takes us out of a whole lot of the baloney that we're having to go through with the government, with Colorado regulations. Why has nobody looked into that, or it has been said and nobody has gone further with it? It's not hard to do. They do it. A lot of places do it. Is it because we don't want to give up the name of the town of Dove Creek and become an incorporation?
I don't know if I know what you're asking.
She did 2 months ago.
It was just, that was different, that was a special district.
That's special.
Yeah, it's
Not
a special
necessarily
district. Yeah, it's a special
a
district, but they still do the same basic thing. We don't look at it as a town. It is a special district. You're correct.
Yeah.
Has anybody gone any further and looked
You're
into that,
talking
or
about
even want to?
So
Dissolving the town.
you're talking about the town, or are you talking about the water and the sewer?
I'm talking
Water
about
district.
the water district. It helps with the water district. It also helps with the sewer district. It also helps with the sheriff's department being able to do their job and support the town and actually not just work on the highways. It supports multifunctions.
She's talking dissolve the town as the town and form an unincorporated village or whatever. So
And it
you don't
frees
have to
up
say-
your money from being stuck in this pot, and this pot, and this pot, and you limit it to those pots instead of being able to put it together.
Do you care if I make a comment real quick? Because I've
Yeah.
talked a little bit about this. I think with the special taxing district like you're talking about, that works when you have a big tax base. We unfortunately
We
do
don't?
not have, we don't have property taxes and sales taxes. And I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head. But that burden then falls on the property owners and sales tax. You're looking at what we've looked into, or some have looked into, you're looking at a 15% sales tax, which isn't sustainable.
But did you look at
That's
just
correct.
the town borders, or did you look at all the tap owners?
Well, so let me ask a question. So, and I think this is a great thing for the advisory committee to look into. But in my mind, who's gonna put up the money to put it on the ballot? Because it's gonna be really expensive, right? And so we're gonna have to ask two separate questions, or actually, possibly, it depends on how you do it, but at least two questions, if not four. One for the formation of the district, one for the mill levy. And then, I guess the second thing would be, then we're just shifting the money over to some property tax, but the mill rate to actually make up this is gonna be massive, it's gonna be bigger.
But I wasn't talking about making the mill levy the sole solution. When I did propose this all those weeks ago, I was just thinking it as a cog in the wheel. You know, you open it up, you do set your special district, you open it up, then you get your grants. You know, so maybe you're only gonna get $20,000-$30,000 a year off of this mill levy. That's just your matching funds for the grant. It's not gonna be the end-all solution to everything, but it does open you up to grants. Like that one grant that I just came across was a 0% match, and it was for capital improvement. It was not, it was for capital infrastructure improvement. It wasn't for just going out and repairing a line here and there. It was a full-blown. That was my thoughts on it. It's not,
Yeah.
a special district isn't going to save us.
No, and
There's not the tax levy out there.
two things that we hesitant on. First, you have, our $1.8 million that's sitting there, that we're gonna use. I don't know if that's gonna be transferable over to a special tax district.
You would still have your enterprise funds. You could still,
Why don't you look into see if it will be?
yeah, you could, the way that I've researched it, and I don't, you know, you could still have your enterprise funds under the town. Then you would have, you would basically add another fund. You would have your general fund, your rec park, your water, your sewer, your special district. Your special district would be the one that would open it up to the grants, but could then take on the projects, capital improvement projects.
So would the special taxing district take the assets?
I don't know that. I would have to do more research.
And then the last hesitation that I have is you have duplication of efforts on admin. I mean, right now, our admin does all the water bills and administration for that. And so, and then there'd be a separate board for the special taxing district.
You could do it like you know how the public health does it, and you would sit as the same board. Like, public health sits, the BOCC sits as the same board of public health.
You can do,
Dual boards. From the research that I've come across. But I have kind of put my research on this on the back burner as there was other pressing matters. But I mean, I'm not opposed to digging into more if you want more information.
so I'm not opposed to considering all avenues, and I guess, as far as, and I'll only speak for myself, the rest of the board can counter this if you feel. We have an immediate problem that I want to focus on of this year and into next year. And I recognize that the special taxing district is something to consider. Because I'm not gonna take anything off the table. But I also know that it's gonna take a lot of time to get that in place. So, for at least me, and that I think is a great use of an advisory committee where if we're focusing on the here and now and trying to get through what we've got going on, and the advisory committee can be doing that research and saying, hey, here are the options, and, you know, we looked
Just
into
send me over
this.
the questions and I'll dive into it. I have no problem diving into it. And then, as the advisory committee, which I'm gonna be out for most of June and July with baseball, because my kids always come first in life. So I could take a back table and focus on that, and let these guys focus on the current problem, and then pick back up in August.
What's the number one problem you see you're facing right now?
Well, can we come up with that date first, because we were really close?
Yeah.
Let's do that real quick before we forget.
My calendar is really far away. When's our regular meetings in June?
Maybe the 9th and the 23rd.
And the 23rd.
I can't see that far away. That far either.
So you could do like the 8th or the 22nd. You know, Mondays aren't always that pleasurable, but
Okay, great. What about the 16th?
what time are you looking at?
What's that?
We rescheduled our Republic on committee meetings for the third Tuesday.
Okay, so that's out. I work the second, third, the 8th and 9th, and 14th, 15th. So outside of those days, I'm pretty open.
17th.
Yeah.
Do we have a school board on that day?
Third Wednesday.
Yeah, that'd be 17th.
Yeah.
What about the 22nd? You might have to just bite the bullet on Monday.
Wednesday the 10th or Monday the 22nd.
Yep.
Maybe.
Maybe I can zoom it. It's on here.
What time?
10th at 6:30. That work for you guys?
At 6:30?
Can we zoom it?
We'll call you up, put you on speaker or something, we'll get you involved.
And it's just a workshop, right?
Just workshop, yeah.
Where at?
Is here okay? It'll be more of a meeting style. Alright, other public comment?
Yes,
Ellen?
No, go ahead.
Oh,
It's already standing.
go ahead.
you work for Durango Fire, right? The reason I'm asking the question, you have access to the people over there, the other water districts, that might be able to help answer some of those questions that you have. You definitely probably have connections over there with people who could
I
answer.
probably do, yeah, not in official capacity, but yeah.
Well, not in official, but in a research capacity, you could.
Yeah.
If you actually, I know you're posing the questions to us and you want us to answer them, that's apparent. But you have other people that have actually done this that can give you better answers than she can. 2 months ago, we had, and it seems apparent that the solution is to keep increasing the cost of water service provided to homes. That seems to be the solution that y'all desire to keep doing. People can't afford to keep doing that. Other solutions were given to y'all and you refused to even look into them. And the last time I was here, you personally refused to listen to me whenever I was speaking until I addressed you personally. You were off chatting with someone else on the board instead of listening to people's comments. It would benefit everyone if our minds would be open a little bit more so we could actually work together instead of disregarding what your constituents have to say and your homeowners and your property taxpayers. There are other solutions out there besides just finances. And there are other solutions besides hitting elderly people's pockets. I made the solution of using a nitrogen unit from Rob Howell to pump down the tower, and it was just no right off the bat. Wouldn't even consider it, because you have the gas problem of handling the chlorine gas, and you would need a tank and a gas bus to recover it. But we also have the problem of what are we going to do with it, but yet we have the lagoon problem. Why couldn't we take that water from pumping down that tower and utilize it to release some of the, and cut that 5 gallon that you read in your letter, that you put in your letter, you needed that 5 gallon flow. Why not utilize it for that 5 gallon flow to cut the sewage, to get it down the river? You can rig up Chitzen line and run it to the end and hook it up to make it flow. But instead, your workers ride around 4 in a truck, passing around houses 6 times a day, not doing nothing. You could rent some Chitzen on from a rental company, get it over there. Rob, I'm sure, would have no problem utilizing his atmospheric nitrogen unit to help the city to do this. But no one will look into it other than and disregard what people are saying. They want us to go do it all for y'all. I'm sorry. That's the way it appears.
Can I ask what you were hoping that the nitrogen would accomplish?
It's going to pump down your tank, number one. It's going to clear the gas out. That's the way you clear out a vessel in the Gulf of Mexico, to be able to go in and work on it, to be able to turn it over, or to be able to completely remove it, especially when you're changing the chemicals in the system that you're trying to treat your water with. You have to utilize nitrogen in order to do it. It's an inert gas, and it will get it out, and it will get the chlorine out, and using a gas buster system to flow back into allows the gas to be released up into the atmosphere, away from the ground where it's going to settle and possibly suffocate people. If you had any background or understanding of the oil field industry, you would understand what I'm telling you. I was a call tube and workover senior supervisor for CTS out of Broussard, Louisiana for over 17 years.
So I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't know if you understand where the problem is. I don't know that we're on the same page as far as what the problem is.
You're using a gas buster to remove the gas to help separate it from the water, and the water can be utilized secondary to get rid of your sewer on the other end when you have to get it over. Because before, it was to hook up to Montezuma, you had to get rid of that water because of the treatment chemicals that they were used was not compatible with the chlorine gas that y'all use in your system.
That process had to be completely engineered.
Yeah, that wasn't hard to
We couldn't just do it like
You know?
we think we could. It had to be engineered.
And that's, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not from you guys, that's what's being handed down from the
Yes.
city, correct?
And a big part of that is too many politicians are in the pot. Too many agencies are in the pot. The special district will remove you from the situation where you've got so many of those people in the pot. But that was disregarded 2 months ago also. You said in your letter about people not coming up to the meetings anymore. People weren't coming to the meetings because you, as a board, would not listen to the people. They got deterred coming to your meetings because you disregard what they have to say, you throw it on the back burner, and you don't even take a look at it a second time. Your whole answer is to raise rates. That's the only answer you come up with.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
I want to go back to the water line down at the river. Why do we have to do a bunch of studies on the pipeline that we used for 50 years? Why don't we just go down there and fix it and start pumping water?
We can do that. We don't have the money to do it.
It wouldn't cost nothing to fix the line. I welded on that line 50 and 60 years ago. Shouldn't need no environmental studies for nothing.
So, and I'll clarify that. So we don't. We have a right of way. We have an easement through there, and in order to go make repairs, we can absolutely do that. We have to give notice, obviously, because if there's campers on the other side or whatever, and there's road closures, we have to go through that process. Not trap people down the river. But other than that, we can work on it. The reason, what I was talking about with the environmental stuff, we got USDA money to completely replace that pipeline. Because every time that it froze and broke in a lot of places, and it wouldn't hold the pressure that is required to overcome the elevation. And so we had a USDA grant secured. And then when it came to actually administering that grant, they started saying because it's USDA money, we had to do the archaeological and the environmental and all that stuff. And we realized that we could instead find money elsewhere and replace sections of that pipeline at a time, the bad sections, and keep what was there. And it wouldn't take all of the admin, all of the studies. So that was in regards to the USDA money. Does that make sense? So we could go work on it. We deprioritized that just a little bit because of the other problems in our system. And you guys know, I mean, we had water main breaks and we ran out of water. And we've had water treatment issue problems out of the plant. We're in storage issues with our distribution system and the tank. And so rather than spending a bunch of money to get that pipeline operational, we are working to just keep the system that we currently got going and use that as a backup, hopefully someday.
So what's it gonna cost for have an engineer to go do what we're doing now as opposed to have an engineer and the archaeologists go look at the pipeline we have used? What's the cost difference gonna be?
Are you talking about for the river line?
Yep, and for what you're gonna put in with Montezuma water? What are we looking at cost-wise difference as far as having engineers come in and look at all that? What's it gonna be cheaper, the USDA
Well, so
or?
let me answer it this way. If we get the water line in place and working today, it doesn't solve any of our problems except for having a backup to our current water supply. We still have to treat the water, we still have to meet all the water
I
treatment
understand that.
requirements.
But
Doesn't
you're
matter
still gonna
whether
have to
we're-
have somebody come in and do an engineer job for it. So what's that, what are we looking at that? Because you've already had one engineer come through, correct?
For
It
which
was
project?
$300 and something thousand.
For the water line?
Yeah,
Yeah, the tie-in from Montezuma, and you said that the Montezuma, engineers, they could do it for $77,000 instead,
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah, I think that was the plan.
I think the 300,000 was for the reservoir project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We quit spending money on engineers and start spending money on putting some labor behind it.
We couldn't agree with you more. Spent 8 years with that.
What was that, Schedule 40 you put in 50 years ago, sir?
Pardon?
Was that Schedule 45 you put in 50 years ago?
No, it's some kind of old army invasion pipe is what they call it.
Well, so what, we need to go with Schedule 80 now?
Oh, yeah, well, it's supposed to be cast iron line down there now.
You put in hardline Schedule 80, you ain't gonna bust it.
Alan?
Oh, yeah. So I got a couple of questions, mostly, if we pay into the Montezuma water system in the next 5 years,
Hardline Schedule 80 and that will handle over 5,000 PSI.
getting the water treatment plant retooled, we'll say, and compliant with the state, is there a guarantee that this quote-unquote revamped treatment plant will be able to meet the state water requirements at that point, or in the future? That's, I think, my biggest question. And then I got a little, or do we know? We don't know. So if not, let's just say, maybe we need to look at other options, or rather negotiations with Montezuma Water for a permanent connection and partnership with them. I did talk with Mr. Bowen today. I don't think that that's off the table at all. I have a little bit of history. I just was kind of on, Dan Fernandez was extension agent, and then he was also on the board for years. But when I was his committee chairman, we, kind of got out there and rushed to get the laterals out here, if you want to call them that. because we knew it wasn't gonna help Dove Creek, although they did have the opportunity to tie in, and that was, you probably would have had it before your time. And that was, turned down by the town manager at that time. But we knew that Dolores County would grow. We didn't know if it would affect Dove Creek, because people would be carving up farms, 35-acre farms and selling them, and people would get water, and that's, when there's water, there's life. So, we were really behind that project, and so they worked well with us. I mean, and we were able to get the number of taps that they needed to be able to bring those out to Egner. Otherwise, it wouldn't have done. And it was pretty touch and go. We didn't know we were going to get it. So anyway, that happened, and so they've been willing to work with us. And when I did talk to them, it's not maybe this 5-year period, and that you're getting ready in 2 weeks to sign that contract with them, maybe it's whatever you want to call it. But it's something maybe we really should consider. Considering we have barely 500 taps, that maybe we just say, you know what, it worked for as long as it did, it was great. Maybe we shouldn't just, feel good at the end of that. But anyway, it was just something I wanted y'all to think about, and he didn't act like it would necessarily be off the table.
And I just want to say too that this is something that the advisory committee's been talking about in depth, and something we plan on bringing to the table. Not that you don't want to answer something now, but but before we move forward with the contract, is something we seriously consider having this discussion first.
That's something I had a question regarding the negotiations with Montana Water Company. Was there a justification for them charging $4 at the water dock in Egner and Pleasant View versus $12 to us?
May I?
I don't
Okay.
know. I'm looking for any information I have.
Yes,
It seems a little strange that they charge us 300% what they're charging at the water dock.
Absolutely. And so when I went to their meetings and I talked to Steve Bowman and Travis and their board, how they came up with that is there's a base rate for Montezuma Water. I pay it, I think it's $38, $39 a month for base rate. And then there's a $2 or $3 plant expansion. And so when you add that and you add the average gallons used per their customer, I think it was 4,700 gallons a month, it averaged out to $12 per thousand. So instead of charging each person a $12,000 tap fee or a base rate, they just did some math on what they averaged, and that's what it came out to be fair to their members. And since it was an emergency-only contract for 5 years, at the time, they were not interested in our system because they know our distribution lines. And their board was wanting to do an emergency bulk water only at that time. Now in 5 years, if we start replacing some of the water lines, it's probably going to be a little bit more appetizing for them.
Okay. All right.
Question, how many taps were changed out this month? How many taps were changed out of the 300 left to go this month?
Changed?
Yes,
You talking about the meters?
the meters, yes.
May I?
Yeah.
So we did receive a DOLA grant for that. We haven't received funding yet. It's not a holdback on the town side, it's a holdback on DOLA's side.
On
They
the
have to
DOLA
do,
side?
yes,
Okay.
they have to do paperwork. And so it's in motion, but it's probably not gonna happen for maybe 2 more months, according to DOLA, that we'll actually get the funding to do that.
Because she sat in the house for 4 months and watched them pass in front of the house 3 or 4 times a week and do nothing but ride a pickup truck.
A day,
A day, excuse me.
sometimes a day.
There is a lot of things that those guys do that is unseen with the streets, with valve.
I've watched them do the same meter 3 or 4 times a day. Like literally, watch my neighbor's meter get read 3 or 4 times a day. So I've
Okay.
been sitting this stuck in there for 4.5 months.
Ellen, did you?
It's like why?
I don't know, but you and we can get with this and figure out what's going on, but they are exercising valves and doing other things that you don't see until you're right on top of them.
No. Oh, I just wanted to talk, this is completely off of that, it's just the websites, it doesn't seem to still be up to date. I know that it's a challenge because it's not, it's hard to find the time to get that all squared away, but I couldn't find the agenda posted today. I struggle a little bit with the Zoom connection, apparently other people don't, so. But I would like to be able to help in any capacity to get that, where it's, up to date mostly, so that people, when they do go on, because we're paying their bill, a lot of people pay their bill, that we have current information, and they're able to see that, there's meetings, here are the meetings for the whole year, because I know they have it posted on them. But other than that, I'm good.
Okay, so we've spent 45 minutes-ish. I'd like to give you have something?
Sorry, just
No,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
I'm worried about corrosion within the system contaminating your entire water system. That's why I'm here. I do want you to know that between the different boards I've served on, I've helped bring in $18 million in grants. And what Sally's working on, I believe that's her name, that's how you get it. If you know what you need, you move up that list. It's not how bad you are, it's knowing exactly what you need moves you up the list. And I think that's huge for one person to do. So anything that you guys need help with, I would be willing to help with.
And I should rephrase. She's not doing it by herself. She's just spearheading it. She's the one trying, not the one to get it done.
I'm just nagging.
I can
What's
help
your
you
name,
nag.
please?
I'm really good at that. Ask my husband.
What's your name, please?
Kim Alexander.
Okay.
Grant, I have one more question, and you'll know this because you're in the fire world. What do all of us do that can't water our lawn? What do we do for fire mitigation?
Keep your weeds smooth.
I mean, do I go get goats at the sale barn and put up a fence because I can't water my garden and I can't water my lawn? I mean, seriously, what? Because there's a lot of people, they can't pay the water bills, they can't, and that's a fire mitigation issue at this point.
Yeah.
Short.
Yeah.
I have a
I mean, but then if you hit a rock and you got a spark, then poof, you got a fire.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You gave us 5,000 gallons before. Now we have nothing. Why couldn't you even give us 1,000 gallons of water and then pay extra after that?
So when we set these rates, what we did was we basically took the money that Montezuma Water was charging us per 1,000 gallons. We transferred that directly over, and then the base rate was figured on top of that. And so historically, we always did do 5,000 gallons, and then overages if we went over.
You pay more. Yeah.
And with this, because we're not making our own water, it was either going to be a higher base rate, or it was going to be just charge people. And it was actually in answer to, for a number of years, I'd say, the whole time I've sat, for the 2 terms that I've sat on this board, there are a lot of people who would come to us and say, can I pay a lower water bill because I never use the 5,000 gallons? Can I just be charged 1,000 at a time?
Well,
And
I
so-
didn't mind that even when I didn't, use the 5. I still paid it, I didn't mind it, but now it's hard. I have 2 taps, and I'm paying for 2 sewers when the house, which I don't understand, let me try to explain. Okay, our sewer line broke. We had to replace it from the house. So I went in the shop to use the restroom, and it came out
Mostly
same.
for emergencies.
And it came out the same place where they put in the pipe. So I don't understand this going to 1 sewer, but I'm being charged for 2. It just, to me, I can't comprehend. It doesn't make sense. Because they're going in the same place,
Why should you have 2 sewer lines if you're using one?
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Got a Y out in the backyard, and they both run together, and you got one going to the street.
And we don't use that much water in the shop, but, we have a full restroom in there, and when they were fixing the pipe, I need to go in there. When I flushed, they got all wet. Because they were putting that pipe in.
I
don't
can't answer
understand
without
that.
knowing your specific situation.
And some other people told me they have two, and they don't pay for, they don't pay for 2 sewers. I don't understand. I doesn't make sense to me. I can't get it in my mind.
Okay.
When they're going to the same place.
Have you talked to staff about this?
Did what?
Have you talked to the staff about this?
No, I just.
Oh, okay.
Doors are closed.
I would encourage you not to add more, but I'd encourage you to go to the staff because as far as, the board members here, I can't really answer for specific systems.
Well, we can't talk to
We
the
can't
sheriff
come
when the
in.
door's locked.
You can use the phone number on the door.
But it
That's
doesn't,
actually-
it's
that's
still,
not-
when other people told me they don't pay for 2 sewers, and they have 2 taps, I don't understand.
That's kind of the same issue that we've been talking about a little bit with commercial rates, and I think that some of that's gonna come out with the rate study that they are gonna move forward with as they audit the system. Hopefully, they'll catch some of those
Well-
flaws. I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying, I think that it's on the radar as far as I know, and that's gonna be something that they'll catch.
We're seniors on fixed income, and it is hard to, when you guys doubled it. It wasn't gradual, you doubled it all at once. It's hard, it really is. Are you trying to get rid of all of our seniors? There's
That
60%.
house payment's cheaper than my water bill.
And there are 60% seniors here. It's hard, it really is.
No, and believe me, we spent months and months stressing about this. The amount of stress that was put into those decisions.
But it was such a shock all of a sudden. It went up once. Okay, we accepted that. But then when it doubled again, when it went up again and it was doubled, it's a shock. When you're not really.
Well, the first
prepared
notice we
for
had
it.
about it, you were gonna go to 125, and then the next thing we know, the bill's 140 something for basic water.
Right.
So you threw it another $20 in somewhere.
So just.
Because what was being said around town and what was initially mentioned at the meeting before that was that it's gonna be about $125 a month for basic water. An increase from $88 a month for basic water of 5,000 gallons. You went and you jumped it, y'all, you wanna use the we, y'all went and jumped it up to 146 something with not even 1,000 gallons.
Yeah. Just basic rate.
And now in your letter that you put out this afternoon, you're talking about raising the rates again.
That was an old letter that somebody
That
shared,
was
and a
from
lot of people
February.
thought it was something you wrote today.
Your 6-page letter that's out on the internet today is talking about raising the rates
It's a
again.
reshare, it's a reshare.
That's an old letter.
I didn't put a letter out today, I promise. No, it wasn't me. But if it was a reshare, my old letter, yeah. Okay, so I thank you all for the public comment, and you are heard. So I know you guys don't sometimes feel that way, but believe me, it's,
Earlier, you started to say, I know we gotta move on, I know. Earlier, you started to say what our number one problem is. I'm curious what that was gonna be, because somebody cut you off. You started to key in on what you thought our number one problem was. Did he say that?
with the water or with the sewer?
Well,
Or overall? I don't know. So overall, it's that we're upside down in every budget.
Is that because they haven't been taking care of it all these years?
No, it's because we have seen a dramatic increase in cost,
Well, everything is.
and we have not seen a dramatic increase in revenue, unfortunately. And it's really, it's money in and money out, and right now, the money coming in, there's a massive money going out. And so, number one problem in every single budget is that they're upside down. And whenever we try to fix one with another, it's just gonna make that one more.
What's gonna happen now that
With the water increases from when they were at $56 to now, I know the state has completely kept, every time y'all tried to come up with a solution to do something, to be able to fix something, and you would start to meet those standards, and you started having money in the cookie jar to be able to address it, the state has moved the goalpost on them every time. So here's my question, and this has to do with the situation, because like Ms. Gloria said, it seems like there's so much pressure being put on, so that elderly will sell their properties and get out, and with that solar array down the road, the next thing that comes in behind a solar array are these data centers. Are they trying to get rid of this town so they can put in a data center here? Is that their ultimate goal of the blue side of things?
Well, that's why we're here, because we're not gonna let it happen.
Thank you guys for that. I'm gonna close the open public comment so we can get on
One
to,
little-
Lloyd, sorry.
Buddy touched on the pumps at the river. You have adjudicated water rights for those pumps. Is there any possibility of taking that water out upstream somewhere, where Muslim Water takes their water? You have the right to the water. You can use that water through them to get to you. Is that a possibility? It was mentioned in discussion after a couple of weeks ago, but just food for thought.
So we get more water than we can use through the canal every year, when the canal is open and functioning. And so the idea of the pipeline and the reservoir, the second reservoir, was what happens, what year was it, 2020?
It's looking like it happened this year too.
2020, when the canal was shut down in July. And it was like, we're gonna have to wait till next May to get water again. And it really scared us.
50 years ago, we had a plan for a 200-acre-foot reservoir. Okay, we got the money, then when we went to the contractors, the price went up. So we had to cut the reservoir 100 acre feet. This is what's happened in the engineering studies. They design a project, but then when the contractors come in to do the work, price goes up. So you run out of money. So costs are cut somewhere else. And that was one of the first ones to do. And we should have kept that one because that would get you all through the whole year. But we had pumps. That was that ace in the hole. Now that's gone. But anyway, food for thought.
Good history.
Also, if you use that upstream, is there any value to that in another forum? If that's something else we've all discussed. Is there value in that somewhere?
The water right? There is, yeah, and we talked about that. If you guys are okay with that, I'm gonna get on to some business. So, let's see, the first thing we need to do is the consent agenda. Did you guys all get an opportunity to look at that? So we have the regular meeting April 28th, we have the special meeting on May 12th, 2026. We have the approval of expenditure vouchers from the month of April, and approval of the park and rec.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda, agendas A through D.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agendas A through D. Is there any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Old business. Starting with possible action on request for exemption to forfeiture exemption or forfeiture for water and or sewer tax. So I believe we have a large stack of those requests, correct?
Yes.
I was gonna say thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming.
You guys are so far away.
I know.
So,
because they're just.
Do they have the stack?
No, I haven't. These are the same ones. Grant, do you want these? They're ones we talked about before. That were all read prior to.
I think I'd like to hear from the board on what you guys are thinking on this. We talked about it a lot last week.
So, I feel very bad for with our budget being upside down. I don't believe that it would benefit the town or the citizens that are paying their water and sewer bills to give $0 waivers for water and sewer taps. Reason being, or monthly bills, reason being is we talked in one meeting how those taps were beneficial to the citizens' property, how it added resale value, how it was a benefit to them. And I agree with that. They invested in it. That is their investment, but I don't think everyone else in the community should have to pick up that investment as they benefit from it. So if we are going to do like I think it was called a dormant, someone said a dormant fee or a vacation fee, we can lower the rates monthly for water and sewer, but I still believe that the owners of those accounts need to pay something. I had some ideas. I sent out an email. We kind of talked about it, but from the ordinances, what I've read, it sounds like we can go ahead and add something possibly to the rate fees. But I also am a little bit confused because it almost sounds like we need to do a new ordinance, redo the water ordinance. Because if you have a water and sewer tap, it states in the ordinance that you have to pay your monthly fees to keep that current for your ownership. So we either have to stick with the ordinance or do we have to completely redo the ordinance? And I'm kind of in the gray area there because I'm not sure I really understand if we can just add it to the fee schedule or if we need to redo the ordinance.
Can you just do the resolution?
Does that have to do with 2 months ago, whenever the people were asking for their taps to be turned off, and you were able to put them in lockout for them to try and save them some money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if it counters that ordinance, we'd have to do it by resolution, right?
You can, your rates you can set by resolution.
We can, but what about their minimum? Can we set a new rate for a vacation or a whatever vacated tap?
Can we ask David?
A vacated tap would mean that they forfeit it, right?
David, could you hear us?
Yeah, we'd have to make sure it's the right term.
Yes. I think the question is, can you adjust the rates by resolution? And I think under your ordinance you can, but if you're like changing what goes into the different types of rates or creating a new rate, that would have to probably be done by ordinance. Or if you're doing something about not charging certain people, you probably need to develop some standards in your ordinance for how you're gonna administer that.
David, can I clarify what we're asking?
Sure.
So what we're asking, we've had a lot of people that have asked whether, because they don't use a tap, they might have a second tap on the property or a building that is vacant, not being used, not normal use. And they don't want to give up that tap for the future, but they're asking whether they can put a pause on it, basically. And I don't know what the right term is. We batted around like 4 or 5 different terms, but basically, they don't want to pay on a tap that they're not currently using, but they don't want to completely forfeit that tap for future use. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think probably have to look into like what maybe other people do. Although I mean, it seems to me, you know, if people, if the rates are calculated based upon a certain number of taps, or you know, the monthly charge, and now all of a sudden there's a lot less of them, what's that going to do to the remainder of the water users and sewer users in town? You know, what's it going to? That's the issue, I think.
Could it just be a new rate category, since you don't have that category in your water?
That's what we're discussing, is how
But I
we would
mean,
do that.
To create a new rate category, that would not take the more difficult road, but maybe a resolution, you would know.
David, if we changed in our rate structure, if we added something to that rate structure, a different rate, would it have to go through the process of an ordinance, or could we just add it on by resolution?
Yeah, I think it would have to be by ordinance if you're changing a new rate, if you're creating a new rate. So, I mean, I think what your town code is, it sets out, you know, you would change that by ordinance, your town code. So if you're making a new addition to the town code for a new type of rate, I think you should probably do it by ordinance. Now, if you have what you want to do, I mean, most ordinances are effective 30 days after publication. So, I mean, it doesn't take that long to do if you know what it is you want to do, to draft an ordinance and publish it, and then it's effective. You can also do an emergency ordinance if you have enough of the board members that support it. And that would be effective immediately. So, just a couple options there.
I don't know what that's gonna do to what's it gonna do to everybody else.
Do we have a count on, I guess, do we know how many are inactive or zero readings for, I guess we need to set up an ordinance, the ordinance would have to read dormant for 6 months, or how would we define dormant or vacant?
Well, let me see if I can, I think the last meeting, what we talked about is, when considering this, if somebody was to come to us and ask for this option, that it would have to be for a minimum amount of time, that we would shut them off, that they would still pay some monthly minimum, not the total monthly minimum, in order to continue to pay into the system. They wouldn't pay usage, their meter would be locked, and they would have to pay a reconnection, and if it was less than that minimum amount of time, they'd have to back pay all of those months. So we didn't have people who were turning off the meter for 2 or 3 months, and then turning it back on and doing this back and forth.
In ignorance, can I pose a question? What is the situation on secondary taps if they're not able to get the water to use, and how do you handle that already? Could that be applied to this situation? Where a secondary tap is not allowed to get water because there's not enough water for it? What do you currently do for that? And you know what I'm talking about, for just watering the lawns? What's your status for that? Could that be applied to the secondary, the already tap that they don't want to use right now, temporarily?
I don't know if I know where you're at.
So you're saying if
Your
a
secondary
person
water
has
at your
to-
house, if you don't get it, what's your status on that? If you don't get the water to pay for the water that you use, what do you already have to do for that secondary water tap at the house for secondary water?
Oh, you're talking about
irrigation, that's
Yes.
totally different.
That's a whole different
That's
company.
between us.
I understand it's a different company, but couldn't you apply the same scope that they use whenever they can't turn it on for the customer because they don't have the water to give the customer? They still have to pay for that tap annually, right?
Correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
Could you utilize that same picture for this situation?
That's what we're talking about, right?
And
That's what I'm offering up as a possible solution.
Monthly, not annually, but
But right now, the ordinance states that if you have a monthly or a sewer tap and a water tap, you have to pay it monthly. There's no discount or anything on it. And if we do, I mean, we're breaking the ordinance, I feel,
And then-
by offering these waivers.
Unfortunately, you would have to go back and change those waivers, and people are gonna be mad about it. But you have to treat everybody fair with it across the board.
Yeah, that's the problem with it being reactive. I feel it needs to be the same for everybody. I agree. I think it's favoritism or a little bit more favoritism to go. So I think the creating a new rate structure under the ordinance is the way to go.
I think so too. So, give me some,
Are we still locked in until our study's done, or are we able to even move forward until that study's done?
So right now, we have there was like 40 plus letters that were requesting waivers or adjustments. And we tabled it, so we need to make a decision. And I feel that we cannot offer free services until we get our new ordinance figured out. And then we can do a reduction for,
it's tabled. We didn't set it for a definitive time when it was coming back, so.
But I guess I got a question, because mine wasn't tabled, mine was approved, and I have the approval letters, so where does that go for me?
That's what I'm saying.
It's
I
gonna
would-
sit there for right now.
Okay.
it sits there for now, but if I'm,
Because there was y'all and at least 5 other people that night that they
there's
were allowed to
six-
do the lockout and
six
put
or
off to the side.
seven that we did approve, but I don't feel like
Can go.
I don't feel like we can move forward with.
Doing the same. Yeah.
You guys all in agreement with?
Yes.
Can we talk about some numbers? Or are you not prepared to do that either?
Well, until we talk about redoing the ordinance, I have some ideas
Throw
that
them out.
I've given to the board, and Grant touched on some of the requirements we talked about. But for the monthly fee, do we reduce it to like a 50% of the base rate, 75% of the base rate fee for them to keep it active?
Even 25% of the base rate might be affordable for them on fixed income.
And that's something we need to decide.
Because, I mean, I understand half, but only cutting off a quarter when they're not even using it and having it locked out. If you leave it in that not locked out status, maybe 25% might be more reasonable to charge Park
But
to maintain, to say that you still have that tap.
once
They paid
again,
$3,000 for it.
Why don't you save your public comments until you're finished? Can you do that, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
but anyway, anything that we reduce it to, whether we do 25%, 50%, or 75%, that is still gonna affect our budget. And everybody that is paying is going to be paying for that landowner's benefit of having those taps. So later on, they can resell it with that benefit of having those taps. I just don't feel that the cost that is sacrificed in the budget should be passed on to paying citizens who are actually, we're all struggling with budgets.
Yeah, it's just we gotta come up with the number, right? So.
Let's, let's keep this tabled because we don't have it written out. Let's workshop this one in June and let's set this and then have it, yes.
I'm skipping a little bit, but the rate studies, they're gonna take a little bit longer than we thought. So I've reached out to a couple of different companies, and this is directly gonna affect the rates. And so it might behoove you to wait until the rate studies are in the process or completed in order to come up with a number.
Compare.
Because otherwise you're just kind of pulling a number with no basis.
Sure.
I hear everybody saying we're gonna leave this one tabled for now.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move on to the first lever update. I believe that was in. Oh, I thought it was.
So tomorrow we're gonna do a walkthrough with the engineer, and I think they're complete, so we'll be doing that tomorrow, so I'll have a better update at the next meeting on the first Weber.
So, table that one?
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along. DSP next steps.
We have a workshop on the 9th of June with Candy Burbridge. She's our ORC for wastewater, and she's been digging into the DSV and working with the state on that, so she's got some items to bring to you. And then I worked with Epic Funding today on wastewater, so we'll bring that to you on the workshop on the 9th of June.
Okay, that means I can move on to the next one, the enforcement order.
Yes, so you probably saw that Montezuma Water has called in locates up there. We're waiting on a PRV, but as soon as we get the PRV in, we're gonna start the infrastructure to the tie-in. We're not gonna tie in, we're just starting the infrastructure, so when CDPHE gives us the go-ahead, we're ready to go. 45 days from when we submitted the SOP for the changeover, I think it's the 15th of June, so I don't expect CDPHE to come back before the 15th of June.
That was from the time we submitted the plan for fishing.
For the standard operating procedure, yes. So we submitted that the 29th of April, and they, CDPHE told us that they would do a 45-day emergency turnaround, but they also told us that in October, and we didn't get a letter until February or March, so.
Okay, sludge removal.
I believe we should table that until we can talk about the DSV and the next steps.
Okay. The next one is capital improvement plan. Sally?
I don't know. Have we gotten any information from Delaware?
Yes.
She said there was a possible grant and some help with that.
There are a few different alternatives. So I've talked with CRWA, Colorado Rural Water Association, and they are absolutely willing to help us with the capital improvement plan. And so is Epic Funding. It's environmental policy. I can't think of the acronym, but they're also willing to help with funding. And they're kind of a funding navigator per se. They work with the EPA. So I'm still waiting to hear back from CRWA. We had a meeting with them last Monday, and then I have a meeting with Patrick tomorrow with DOLA. So we can start going through the funding channels.
Okay, so, you've been the one that's kind of been checking with all these organizations. Next month, who is going to be kind of helping with those connections in the office?
Yes, so this afternoon I sent an email to Grant and our ORC of water, wastewater, our public works supervisor, and our lead, and so that they can all be involved in it. Right now Lana's got enough on her plate that I think the others need to kind of be more involved. So if the board would like, I could involve you in all the emails going forward to make sure there's no missed pieces. But right now I've got Grant looped in on those emails and other staff members.
I'd be interested in receiving those.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody?
I
Okay.
don't know if I'll understand everything, but yes.
The good thing about it too is I've been talking to these entities about my departure and making sure that they have all of what they need and who to go to next, and I'll be happy to be involved going forward as much as I can. I am not gonna be working for the town, but I'm not gonna just cut things off. I wanna see the town succeed.
So on top of that, is our supervisor gonna be able to, take on the extra duties with his condition?
Everybody's up to here, right, with all the projects that we have going on. And so I don't know that there's another person right now. So if we all take a little bit of the burden, I think that's the best path forward.
I know this is kind of jumping ahead of things, but the town manager, we aren't even looking to hire until end of July, right?
I think it's due back the 23rd of June, and then we have a special meeting the 30th of June.
Okay, so, Lana had mentioned an interim town manager also, people that could do that. Is there a list out there somewhere just in case we don't get any applications or qualified people?
Yeah, so I talked to Patrick about this exact scenario, and he said since the board wants to advertise for the position, it's best to see what the board gets. And if you don't get anything, then let's do the interim position for 90 days, 60 days. Interims don't want to come in for a month, they want to come in for 3 to 6 months. And so we don't want an interim and then hire another.
But, okay, so, and maybe you know, maybe you don't know. We don't get, let's say we don't get a qualified person, so we choose to go with an interim.
Mm-hmm.
If they come in, say we contract for 6 months, can we still advertise and get someone and then hopefully have that interim work with them a month or something to kind of get them trained in 30 days? I mean, are there different scenarios that we can explore?
Yes, and I believe what you just described is what Patrick would recommend. We've got to be really careful because the grant that's funding this position, we have to make sure everything's checked, and everything that we did last May has to be the same going forward with this one. If we don't do that, then we'll lose funding. But I believe what you just said is the correct way to do it. Advertise, see what we get. If we don't get anything, go with an interim and then advertise while we have an interim.
Would the grant pay for the interim too, or would that be different?
I don't believe, it's gonna be a portion of it.
I mean, because you could also have a middle scenario where you have a semi-qualified person and, hey, let's let this interim come in and train them.
I'll have to ask on that because it's very strict on what it does and doesn't pay for, as long as we want to keep the DOLA funding for the position. If we don't, then we can do whatever we want to do. But that was Patrick's advisement. Continue with the advertising, and then if we don't get anything, then let's check and see if we can get a 3 or 6 month interim in.
Okay.
I'm correct, we've moved our notices to the journal, is that correct?
We've got them in the journal. I've got them on IIMCA, which is the what Casey talked about earlier, the Colorado County and City Managers Association. I believe we've got them on CML. We've got it going on the Pinto Bean, if it's not already on the Pinto Bean, and the Grand Junction paper, and I believe the Durango Herald.
Do you think 75,000 is in line or under? You're leaving, you can say.
It's incredibly under.
Yeah. I mean, I'm worried that $75,000 isn't going to get us experience.
It's under, but also, I mean,
I know.
so. Yeah, that's true, but also, I mean, we say that, but, I mean, we just hired an EMS chief for a number that we were, you know, the best that we could do. The sheriff works the best he could do. I mean, we just don't have.
We could get incredibly lucky in how we do it. It's worried that it's gonna be a hard fit.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. All right, capital improvement plan. So, I guess next steps on that is that we're gonna work on the funding. Did we have any idea, a timeline on when we could get started? As far as getting that funding? Did you get any idea from any of them? Like, is this money we're putting in for and we're waiting months or a year for? Or is this something that we could be looking at in the next couple months of securing funding and starting down, finding the right company to start helping us with this?
Yes, so this should be a faster, so this initial engineer assessment of our system should be a fairly fast initial, like 2 months or so, 2 to 3 months of finding funding for it. That DOLA grant that I was talking about is a 50-50 match. We received it for our admin planning grant. It's the IAF funds. But anyway, that should be a fairly easy ask. And then with CRWA having interest in it, as well as EPIC having interest in it, I believe we'll find funding to get the engineering assessment of our system fairly soon. And then I think what Patrick was saying was about a 6-month lead time to get the capital improvement program going or almost finished during his presentation.
I thought Ryan said it could be done in 2 months.
It probably can. I think Patrick was giving us a typically takes 6 months from start to finish.
But do we have the town records such as problem areas that need replaced? I mean, I'm assuming everything north of the highway is original, pretty much. So, I mean, does the town have the records that will help, I guess, justify where we need to start, what sections would be worse?
We have some. The issue is when we did the GIS mapping, we did it with Jones and DeMille, and we did it with a limited budget. And so Jones and DeMille mapped it out based on employees' understanding of where our lines are. We're finding that to be very inaccurate. Some places are right on. Some places are 10 feet off. And so CRWA is willing to come in and help us. They've got some tools and some techniques to get our GIS back on track and where it's supposed to be. And so, yes, we do have some information, but we can't tell you what kind of pipes are in what street. If they made the pipe, it's in Dove Creek. It's a conglomerate. So that's a multifaceted answer.
Okay.
We still have that GIS software though, right?
We do. We
So
absolutely do.
We have a starting point.
We do, yes. We have a great starting point, and we have CRWA, which is, I don't believe we'll have to spend anything to have them help us update the system and get everything where it's supposed to go. Yes, it is awesome. CRWA is fantastic. They're going to help us with rate studies, sounding of the leak that's in that ditch, the Johnson Barnett leak.
They pump with a smart pig?
Do they have?
And then GIS, they've got a whole bunch of, and then training they're going to help us with too.
Okay. Good. So we've got a starting point. We could be looking at possibly last quarter of 2026.
We could, as long as it keeps moving forward, and hopefully the board and the staff will keep it going, as well as the other entities.
Sally will continue to prod us and make sure we get it done, right, Sally?
I'm here to nag.
Sally's got backup. I'm one of her.
I'm here to nag.
You know what we have before we know what we do.
Okay, that's all the old business we've got. Now, new business. I was supposed to do this last meeting, and I forgot about it with all the stuff going on. We need a mayor pro tem.
Jason,
So,
Jason.
I guess, so I provided the ladies a calendar from work so that they would know when my shifts fall. It's pretty easy to know when I'm not available and when I am available, and it's only fair to the town and our ongoing stuff to have somebody who can fill that authority when I am absent. Sometimes I'm available a little bit by phone or email, but you know, that can change at a moment's notice, and I can be completely unavailable. So, I need somebody who is available and willing and fill in my absence.
Do we need a nomination?
I ask that the board approve Jason for mayor pro tem position.
That didn't take long. I'll second it.
Thank you.
Or whatever it is.
Is there any other nominations?
I don't think so.
No, thank you.
Just you read your answer.
Okay, I guess is there any discussion on this? Jason? Okay, if not, then, all in favor of appointing Jason Gray as mayor pro tem?
Aye.
Okay, Jason, Stacy. Okay. All right, mayor pro
Thank you,
tem.
Jason.
And we advertise for the other position, right?
We did.
Have you got any interest?
Nothing yet.
Didn't
We did?
Didn't we get one, or did they not turn a letter in yet?
No, I haven't.
We had somebody
we
come
haven't
into the
seen-
office, but we
I
haven't
haven't seen
received a letter.
anything yet.
What position is that?
Oh, Brad's position? So, we need another board member. Pretty badly. What is that, 40, we're 45 days now?
I don't think it's been that long.
Yeah. His resignation was read last meeting, so he's only
Yeah.
How many days do we have?
60.
60, so 46 days, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought it had been 45.
No,
That's-
we have 45 days
Remaining, okay, yeah.
So, yeah, you guys,
Spread the word.
if you guys know people that would serve on this board, we need that.
What happens after 45 days?
It's not as critical as long as you have a quorum.
Yeah.
What happens after the 60 days is up?
Well, if you didn't have a quorum and your 60 days was up, you would have to have a special election.
Oh,
Makes sense, huh?
all right. M&I lease proposal?
I have a question, Lily. Number 4, is that $20.32 a typo?
I don't think so. Ken Curtis was on. He's no longer on Zoom right now. I could try to call him.
So before we call them, we ask, we have basically a $30,000 payment for the water. We get 15 from one of the
Yes.
rigs, so we're still lacking 15. So if we do the 2032 per acre foot and sell 180 acre feet, that's only like $3,600. I'm not. I'm going to entertain this to the next then. Did we even advertise?
No, Ken Curtis just brought this to my attention and said, please bring it to the board. So,
I would say, we're getting how much? 150 from the other one, correct?
the other one's 100 acre feet
And
max, and it's 15, a
150.
little over $15,000 a year. Mhm. And it's 150 an acre foot, yes.
So this 100 acre feet of water that we have could help our revenue issue quite a bit. So I really think we need to put it out there and get way more than that.
Even if we did a raw water dock, something like that.
Because I looked on Dolores Water Conservancy, and it said that the farmers are capped at 350 per acre foot. And I don't know what the water sells for, but it seemed like they were paying 250 an acre foot a couple of years ago, maybe. So I think there's more value in this. So that $20.32 per acre foot is no.
An insult. It's an insult.
Yeah. That's my opinion.
Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Would you make a motion?
I ask that the board not approve this Dolores Water Conservancy 1-year lease with M&I Water.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to not approve the lease. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The code of conduct. Oh, go ahead.
Do we need a motion for you to put that out for other people to bid on it or show interest on it, or can we just?
I think we should have a workshop on it because I think there's other alternatives before we start advertising.
Alternatives that aren't gonna cost us anything right now?
Well, we had talked about the water dock, the raw water dock. And I'm just ballparking a number, just pulling a number out of a hat. If you sell raw water for $10 per 1,000 and you have 180 acre feet, which is about 330,000 gallons per acre foot.
Okay.
What about though, I mean, we all know the canal's not gonna run very long. Can we sell this to ag use?
We probably can do at least similar to this.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I would think that there's a lot of hay farmers in this country that would pay the going rate for it. And if we wait, I don't think that canal's gonna run through July.
Okay.
I don't know when it is gonna probably shut down. And these awesome monsoons from El Nino, Super El Nino are gonna come in. Maybe it's gonna be extended, but if we had an opportunity to give a hay farmer or a couple of hay farmers another couple inches, it might give them another cutting. So,
Is there a proprietary thing with that canal? It would pick up and down the canal, correct?
yeah.
I'm just curious, is it like, I mean, I know we own the water.
Yeah, we own the water, so I
It's
don't.
primary, M&I water's priority over ag, so it's. So. We would
I can look into
utilize
it.
the-
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see what we can do, because I don't wanna miss our window. And I don't know how long it would take us to get a water dock up and going and whether we sell that much water from it. I mean, I think we're talking about maybe 50 or, I would be shocked if we sold more than a couple acre feet of water out of a raw water dock in the time the canal has left by the time we got everything going. I guess that's how I see it, but that's my opinion. You guys?
I agree, the timeframe's still gonna be short, for sure.
And if there's a possibility, I think that there are many hay farms out there that would probably be be happy to buy some extra water.
So we took an option?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know how you do it fairly, I just don't see how you do it fairly.
I know.
My yard.
Close the sealed bids or something like that, you'd have to do something to keep it fair, right?
I guess that's probably another question for David to have weight on that too, when we do that. So let's brainstorm that and make sure that we're legal to do that.
Well, we need to do it as soon as possible, because if they do cut the canal, some farmers may want to use it sooner than later too.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that we need to get,
We could probably do a special meeting on the 9th of June along with the workshop.
That MI water dock deal, that's separate from the current water dock, right?
It'd be a new construction.
A new construction to, okay. I'm trying to understand which way we're going.
okay, alright. You guys got anything else on that? Can we move on? Code of conduct.
This was on the agenda, or Mayor Martin asked if we could put it on the agenda for the upcoming meetings, because we do have a new member.
As far as explaining it?
Explaining it and having it signed like we did last time.
We did not sign it.
Did not sign it?
We talked about it, and it was, I think, a consensus that it would be given to board members to read, just to, as a guideline as what their feelings are.
You got questions on that?
No, pretty straightforward, sat on several boards before, so I'm familiar with the requirements and restrictions.
Anything else on that? Can we move on? Okay, the big one, rate study, tell us. What's the bad news?
Yeah, so the day after we talked, I talked to RCAC, Rural Community Assistance out of Mancos. They're the ones that did the rate study for us in October or November of last year. Mary, I can't say her last name, Radonovitz, I think you were at that workshop. Anyway, they're about 6 months out from starting a rate study with us again. They have a couple in the works in the pipeline right now, and so we're looking at least 6 months to start, and then probably a couple months once they get the information. So we're talking 8 months out. But then again, our rural water, oh my goodness, the acronym. Yeah, CRWA, thank you very much. They're also interested in doing a rate study, so I asked them when they could do that, and they're working on timelines and dates, and I don't have anything yet. But they laughed when I said a month or two, so it's probably, it's probably 3 or 4 months out at least, I would say. As soon as I get that email back of when they can start, I'll let you know. And then EPIC funding, they could probably help us with funding for a rate study if we don't want to get a free one through RCAC or the other acronym that I just forgot a second ago already. Yes.
Who else can do a rate study?
We can have engineers help us with the rate study, but then you're paying more. That's the beauty of RCAC and the rural water, is they do it for free. They don't do as They don't go down in the weeds quite as much as one that you pay for, but it's
Does Route
good.
9 do anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I asked Shaq previously.
Do you have an idea how much it might cost us to get engineers involved?
I don't, but I could check and see.
And I just ask because, let's say that we could even do the RCAC one or the CRWA one, the acronym. If we could do one of the acronyms for free, but it might behoove us to actually engage, especially if we can get funding from it,
Mm-hmm.
to actually go down a little more in depth. And by the time we do this, we're gonna have a lot better numbers. Hopefully, everything will be tied in and we'll know exactly where we're at with Montezuma Water. And we should by that point also have an idea about when we can start our infrastructure stuff with the other thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, yes. So I think the number one step is get the ball rolling on a rate study, and then number two is work on that capital improvements program. And that'll get us started in the right direction for the distribution project with the CDS funds as well.
Thoughts, guys? Do we want to pay engineers to do more?
I think we need to look into that, yes.
I'd be curious about.
Question, if I'm in from you. What benefit is the rate study gonna help with the situation, out of ignorance? Please.
It's gonna let us know what we have to set in order to be able to continue to provide water and sewer to the residents of Guthrie.
Okay.
They take in all the factors, they put them in there, and they are able to predict what our cost is gonna be. Is that a good way of explaining it?
And future costs, potentially?
It is. It's kind of like if you go out to buy a new truck, right? They're going to look at your finances and make sure that you can pay back the note,
Mhm.
and make sure that your revenue and your expenditures are where they should be. And so the rate study
It's like a
does that.
secondary bank manager coming in and verify everything.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so stupid question. If we go the route of getting funding for an engineer for the rate study and a capital improvement, are those two intertwined so a lot of information crosses over
Yes.
where we're not double, triple paying? Okay.
Mhm. And that capital improvements program is the first step also for the distribution project. So we're not double spending on anything. We're doing a step at a time in the right direction.
Okay.
So the current rate set based off the last rate?
There's the $20 less than what the last rate starting set.
I mean, I know this kind of came about because of the commercial sewer tap talk. Do we expect to have a different outcome with the rate study based on Montezuma water pressure in our lifetime? Is that part of what
The sewer
the main?
is different than the water. So them pressuring up the water, us getting water from Montezuma Water, we factored that in totally on the water enterprise, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Then the sewer enterprise was a completely different budget that set its rates.
Okay, I guess I'm still trying to wrap my head around the rate study we're doing now.
Still, let's figure out what's gonna happen with the lowered tax, the ones that are going vacant. We're going to.
Is it sewer or water tax?
It would be both.
So you're studying both.
And we did the previous rate study,
Both.
based upon
I think I'm a little bit
information that was, when did we initiate the last one?
We did that, we started that in September, October, and that was based on Montezuma's rates at that time, which were a lot lower than the $12, but I think they based it on our $12 that it costs us to produce the water. Because we still are paying $12 per thousand to get the water drinkable, and on average, we're selling it for $7 per thousand. Not now, not after the rate increase, but prior to that.
Previously.
Yes,
Was that at the $88 rate, or was that at the $56 rate?
that was at the $81 rate.
But the $81 rate was.
We would still fall
sewer-
short.
It was sewer and water combined, so,
Yes.
okay.
People don't think of it that way, they just think of that upfront number that they
I
see
know.
on the bill.
Okay. Yeah, and I think too, to initiate one now, especially with the lead time that we've got, then we're actually gonna know exactly usage and the development since that last rate study, and so it will help us budget time next year, so we know where we're at, how it's set down here.
Don't talk like that.
At this point, we're just gonna accept it and figure out how to claw our way out of it. I think that's reality.
Realistic, yeah.
Yeah. I'm being a realist.
This is probably workshop, and I'm sorry for speaking out of turn, but I thought a lot about all this, lost a lot of sleep, and I feel that when we look at our water in the situation we're in, and I'm gonna follow with what Ellen said, it would sure solve a lot of problems for the town if we could figure out a way to get Montezuma Water Company to take over our water and a number of taps. And that problem would be behind us. My biggest hesitant is the tap fees that would be put on the citizens. But man, I'm just waiting for this 5-year agreement to finish out and doing these rate studies. It doesn't seem like we need quick solutions, which is obvious.
The biggest problem is they're interested to do that.
Well, they aren't necessarily that, not just yet. I mean, I think that
They're not interested.
No, I'm sorry.
I guess maybe you didn't explain this to us, sorry, Ellen, but we've sat down at a table with them and had that discussion, what that could possibly look like.
Yeah, I think Lorraine can answer that better than me.
We absolutely have, and there was, when we were in negotiations, they were asking me about the CDS funds and our plans of upgrading the distribution system. And it struck me weird because when I pump my gas up at the gas station, the attendant doesn't come out and ask me about my carburetor or my injection system, right? And so they're already thinking they don't want the distribution system in the state that it's in now. That doesn't mean that further down the line, when we start upgrading things, they were asking me when we were going to start the distribution project, when we had completion finished, what the timeline was looking like, how many stages it was going to be, those kind of questions. And I asked them if they were interested in our system now, and they laughed at me. They said, no, we know what's in the ground over there, but we also know that you have funding available to start fixing it. And they did take over Summit water system in the past. And so I don't believe it's off the table, but I don't believe that they want it in the condition it's in right now.
That's kind of part of the negotiation process though, right?
Yeah.
It absolutely is, but they were only willing to do an emergency water contract. That was it. And they, after we went back and forth negotiation, they said, take it or leave it. If you don't want it, we're done. We're absolutely done negotiating.
Yeah, because it's a member-owned entity.
Mm-hmm.
I keep going back to our water rights and whether that could grease the wheel enough. And I know that's uncomfortable talking about water rights, but we're in a very uncomfortable position, and you're just seeing this carry out 5-10 years. I don't see us lasting 5-10 years with these rates. It's like, that's just my opinion.
We also talked to them about usage of our water plant, keeping it online, and they could have an operator. They had no interest in that. They have a new plant that's going in. We did talk about water rights. Rich Landreth and I did when we were at their meeting. They said Travis laughed and he said, we have plenty of water. We're not interested in that right now.
Well, something I thought of, which I don't know, I haven't done any research, but I wondered if there might be a small company out there, I don't even know, like maybe Excited or Junction, that might want to expand their services, you know, to other cities. I don't know.
Like a private water treatment and distribution company?
Yeah, I don't know, but again, you privatize it, and you're kind of stuck at whatever you want to set the rates anyway. So I thought of bigger places, towns that might want to invest in here, but I don't know if that would even be something that would be possible. I don't know if the state would let them do it, because as Lorraine can attest, we have to have someone who can have the proper licensure to run the plant, and that's something we're running into problems with finding someone also.
So, and any other water system, like I'm on Montezuma Water, I don't want to subsidize the upgrade. You know, and that's really what it would be, is we would have to pay to upgrade this system. That's why I'd rather come up here and help you with grants. It's most cost effective.
You're paying for one plant upgrade, you don't want to pay for two.
My concern is that we still, after 5 years, and the monies that we put in, do we put it into that treatment plant, knowing that there's a possibility we might not meet the requirements of the state at that time?
Absolutely.
And so that's something you guys can really have to, dig down and decide.
Again, you asked that before, and I didn't want to answer it, because every time I answer a question, I get, I'm always wrong. So I'm not going to answer it, because I don't think you know. But I would pose this question just to the world. We have an ungodly amount of water. Our forefathers of this town were very smart and intelligent, and they saw the writing on the wall, and they got us a massive amount of water. Water that this town could expand dramatically, and we still wouldn't want for water. Our problem has been a combination of the way that we treat the water and the distribution system itself. The way we store the water and the changing Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment standards. So this is the question that was a big introduction into my question. Sitting on as much water as we have, and we all know how affordable that raw water is, if we could get a system and a plant and a distribution system and the storage system that would meet all the requirements, would we rather use that water that we have the right to, that is cheaper, or would we go in a direction where we abandon that system completely and look at giving it over to Montezuma Water? And I think that's the 50,000-foot view of this.
Yeah, that's the fork in the road, right? Are we going to do it, or are we going to?
If we found the funding to do it, right? If we could change our water treatment process, upgrade our water plant, upgrade our water tank, and get a distribution system that doesn't have dead-end mains, that has the proper looping, that we don't have to flush hundreds of thousands of gallons every summer just to try to keep the PTH out of it. If we were able to do that, I mean, the cost would be the operator, but that's the question I think that we need to answer as a community. Do we want to use our water right, or do we want to abandon that and go to Montezuma Water, where we're more subject to whatever their rates are? We don't have a say in that.
What is the value of that water? And how much is it down here? From that 1951 1951, isn't that when they established
1951.
those, or was it before then?
1951.
What is the amount of that water that we have rights to? And I know they're senior rights.
They're senior to some and junior to other. There's it's 0.86 absolute, and I think 0.21 conditional. Adds up to be 1.05. But anyway, it's hard to put a number on that because we haven't pumped it in so long. We don't know what's actually down there and what's actually available to pump.
I mean, we.
That's just the point of diversion down there.
Yeah.
Plus, we have the water right from the project water.
Yes, the 280 acre feet.
Turn back.
So
20 years away from having for free every year, right?
Yeah.
If I understand.
Yeah, and so I guess that's why I say a 50,000 foot view of here and now, it's rough. What do we want it to look like in 20 years? Because I see 280 plus whatever that is, which we estimated somewhere in the neighborhood of around 400 and some gallons per minute. That's not definitive, but it's rough estimate of a little over 400 gallons per minute, which is a lot of water if you're flowing 24/7. So, you know, by that regard, if we have the water treatment plant and the distribution system that would meet all the requirements, we're talking about a lot more affordable water that we'd never want for.
Is it affordable with 500 taps? And we're not growing. Like, I want to see the town grow, right? We're going to grow to 1,000 taps in the next 20 years. I put a lot of money against it. Unless something crazy happens with uranium or we have a data center, but even those don't require a lot of workers. What's going to bring people here to grow this town? We're going to be at 500 taps for a long time, maybe 600. Best case scenario. I would love to see more jobs, more people wanting to build houses.
Well, that's what it takes,
filling up
right?
the schools, but I
It's
just
industry.
we don't have rail, we're not interstate. I mean, and that's a great thing. A lot of people sometimes that's a good thing, but I don't see us growing. And I don't see how the state continues. They're not going to stop with their regulations. The regulations are going to keep upping. And so we're putting all this focus and effort on getting water from the pumps and the treatment system. That do we know? Like, that's the rate study I would want to see. What can we do with 500 taps when we get a fully functional system? I don't think we can do it because we don't have enough customers to match the high regulations from the state.
And there's been times in the past too where we weren't able to get water out of the river, right? I mean, what do we do in those situations too? I mean, it's just something to think about. What happens in a year where there's not any water?
That's exactly why the town bought into the Bureau of Rec Project Water in the late 80s, because they were tired of having the alarm sound, fill your bathtub up, catch rainwater off your asbestos shingled roof. And so they bought into the project water.
We want to have clean, safe, reliable water.
Affordable.
Please make it. So, do we know, so Montezuma Water is doing a treatment plant right now? Right. So
They're doing an upgrade to their plant. Mm-hmm.
I guess, does anybody happen to know what
$40 million grant.
Mm-hmm.
What the capacity?
Yeah, or you know what the cost per gallon, you know, so
It's a cost.
exactly. So cost per gallon to build, and you know cost per tap to build basically, and then cost per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
$2 per tap, right? For
Yes.
Yeah, every month it's $2, and they're budgeting with their grants and such to expand it. The thing that maybe you want to think about is, like, Albuquerque is cutting off those neighboring towns because they're having water shortages. Where would we land in that? You know, so I think maybe evaluating what it takes to bring it up and seeing that cost, because you can only sell the water once, and then you are negotiating $50 per gallon because you have to have it. You know.
I guess my question do everything here, what do our rates look like at that point? Are we gonna continue to go up, or is it gonna be affordable like Montezuma was? Like, I mean, are we gonna get a free 3,000 gallon?
I don't know that we can answer that at this point, but here's how Grant Allen feels. If it were gonna cost more, if we were gonna invest a whole bunch of money, have more expensive water than Montezuma water, that wouldn't make any sense to me.
Right.
In my mind, I see that having the security of our own water that we have a say over, that can be cut off, right, if there's a water shortage for some reason, with water that we already have, that we're a couple decades away from owning outright. If that is more affordable than what we can do with Montezuma water, that's awesome. If we're gonna invest millions of dollars into something that's gonna, in the end, cost us more money, that doesn't make sense to me. So, you know, I'm a homeowner, I'm a ratepayer too, so, you know, I guess that's how I feel, and I think it is way too soon for us to say.
I think we're in a precarious downstream situation where if we get cut off, let's say Montezuma water took us over and they cut us off as an outlier because of shortages. If that happened, then the river's gonna also be short. We're screwed either way in that situation, I think.
Well, and that's why, actually, last year, we were pushing so hard to get that second reservoir in, because we would have 200 acre-feet of water sitting up here, which is more than 1 year's water supply. And if we topped off, and we lost the canal for some reason, or McPhee was too low to get to the
cheapest solution.
great cut site, you know. So, I guess that's the big global 50,000 foot question that we have to answer in the next 5 years as a community.
What's the diameter of the hole at the pumps that you pull it from, when you do pull from the pumps?
We actually have a diversion through it's a water gallery, and so it's actually a big, I don't know how deep it is, like 80 feet deep and about 8 feet across. And then it has a pump that goes up. If you've been down there, there's a small water tank there, and then the pump house, and then off to the side of the pump house is a big, they call it a water gallery, and it just is basically got a bunch of stones where the water from the river
Overflows into it?
It flows through the rocks and fills the gallery full of water. That pumps into the tank. The tank is what provides the head pressure for the pumps that pump it up the hill. We have to have a pretty tremendous pressure to pump it up the hill.
Yeah, especially with old holes in the pipe and okay. I'm thinking you got a, 8-inch diameter hole, and it's however many feet deep, and you're pulling from a freshwater source, but it's, okay. I see how you do it coming in now.
Yeah, it's actually from the river.
Because I'm thinking, what if this thing sands up in the future, how are you gonna go and jet it in to lift the sand off of it to get it flowing again?
And that is something that we have to do maintenance on. The original system was 2 wells. It was put in the early 50s.
Okay, 51.
And I don't know their size. They just a regular water well that was down there by the river.
Probably 2 7/8 or something like that.
They silted in, and so that's where the water gallery came from. So,
You didn't say it all out.
let's hit the last item of new business, the leak policy.
Okay, once again, that was me. We passed a policy back in 23 that we would give everyone 25% off their monthly, or off the total cost of the bill, and give them a time period to pay it. With Montezuma water, I don't feel that we can still offer that 25%. I would suggest that we possibly alter the resolution to read that we, as a board, would waive the monthly fee, the monthly base rate, but I feel that they're going to have to pay the full $14 per thousand for any water leaks.
What's the reason with that thought?
I would agree if it was a fault situation, if it went for more than a month. If you knew it was leaking and didn't do anything about it, I would agree. Unfortunately, in a no-fault situation, I don't. It's hard.
But we had one situation where it was rather large amount, wasn't it? It was like 100 and some thousand gallons.
110,000 gallons that filled the basement up, and they just didn't go into their basement, so they had no idea until we read the meter, and then they found it. However, any expenditure that comes out of the water enterprise has to be subsidized by the revenue that comes in. And so if you have a leak and we do a 25% discount, that means everybody else has to absorb the difference, right? Because we still have a Montezuma water bill to pay for.
I'm sorry. Does Montezuma Water give you a discount? Have you asked them?
They do not.
So once it goes through their meter, they don't hear it.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
How, I guess, like, as a customer, so if I have a water leak and I clearly, like, don't see it, or how long do you guys let it go before you let us know, I guess?
Yep, so we have a procedure in place, so every time we read meters, we have certain criteria it goes through. I think it's gotta be 50% greater than last month, above 5,000 gallons, and so typically we have about 10 on that list that we go out and reread, because we're human, and sometimes the numbers can get flip-flopped, right? And so we do a reread. If we find out that we were accurate on our readings, we contact the customer with a door tag and say, you have abnormally high usage. If you were expecting this, fantastic. If you weren't, please give us a call and we'll come out and we can turn all the water off at your house, make sure you're not having a swamp cooler going, your laundry going, and there's a leak detector on the meter itself where we can see it spinning, and so we can see if there's a leak on your side of the meter, if there's water running through it, and you have all the water turned off.
We have had leaks, we found them fairly quickly, but I'm just thinking about some of those people that don't go to their basement for a month, like, I don't know.
Vacation for 2 weeks.
Right, like, I don't know that, I mean, we used to be able to go out and we could see our reader, you know, ticking, where we can't now. So I'm like, how much of responsibility, like, how can we see that now as a customer with the new meters?
Typically, on my house, I walk around my yard, right? If I have a green spot or a soft spot, it triggers me to call my Montezuma Water and say, hey, can you come check me for leaks? I'll turn everything off. And I've had a leak on mine, and absolutely had to pay all of it. It was on my side of the meter. But it's part of a homeowner's responsibility, too, is to walk around, to check your basement, to look for things.
Are they pumping an indicator dial when they do that process to try and find where it's at?
So everything from the meter to the house is not the town's responsibility, and that's actually government overreach, because we would be taking away from a plumber that could be doing that job.
Okay.
And so
That's
no,
the answer.
that's the answer. Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of gadget that we can have, that we can read our own meter?
You could install a meter on your side of the town's meter, absolutely, and they do sell those.
I need board opinions on this.
I'm coming around.
Jason?
I just think about all the little old ladies that can't get out there, and I don't know how they're gonna afford to see what was, how much. I mean, I get it, Sally, I get it, it's just hard trying to see the other part of it too.
I'm looking at numbers and
I
graphs
know,
that
I
were
know.
upside down, and it has to be fair to everybody, and I don't.
I agree with that.
I hate it. I wish I had other ideas.
So we're looking 100%, do you wanna go 100%, or?
I think the town, even waiving the base rate fee for a few months, I mean, it's gonna hurt our budget, but not that much. But as far as Montezuma water,
So you're saying pay the water, but maybe forego the base?
yeah, I think the town could forego the base rate for a while, but their water usage, no.
Okay.
It should be paid.
I just have a question on how we, is this something you want us to verify? I mean, in the past, it's kind of been on a case by case, and it's been on the excessive usage. We know what their readings are. I'm just wondering if somebody's gonna say, ooh, we're not gonna have a base rate for a few months. Might they come in and say, well, I had a leak, you know? I mean, I've left my faucet on, just watering my plants, just forgetting it overnight, and, you know, I've got 10,000 gallons.
Yeah.
No, here in town, my grass is really green. I'm just asking.
Well, you make a really good point.
Yeah, does it need to be verified?
I would say we'd have to be verified, because we verify it now, right?
We do just based on, you know, the past usage, right? But I'm just thinking on the other side of things, if I'm gonna get 6 months off of my base rate, maybe I would leave my hose on for a little bit.
Go ahead and fill the pool.
I guess
Right.
the bigger question would be this: what are we verifying? Are we verifying that they had a break in the system? Because I think that would be pretty easy if they produced receipts of a plumber coming out and they actually had a break in the system, as opposed to a toilet running or a faucet left on or something like that. I don't think that's what we're talking about.
Okay, and right now, we've had a few where their toilet leaks incredibly, and they do use 20,000, 30,000 gallons, and that is included on this leak. Yeah, the fun thing about toilets is when you don't use them, a lot of times they get that scum buildup on there, and then they don't seal properly, and you can use an incredible amount of water through your toilet, and there's no signs of it because you're flushing it, and so it's not like you have a green spot in your yard or something like that.
You can usually hear that continuous running in the tank.
Usually,
If you're paying attention to it.
usually, but if it's a basement toilet,
Yeah.
I've had a basement toilet where I had no idea.
Oh,
So what are we talking about here, guys? Lorraine brings up a really good point.
Just as a member of Montezuma Water, I think we have to present a plumber's receipt that we had a repair made.
But from my point of view, I have lots of handymen in my family,
Exactly,
and
that's
they
what
can
I
do everything, and I am not gonna hire somebody to do it for me, so. I mean, if you're a self,
A DIYer?
yeah, I mean,
So then how do we verify?
I mean, obviously, the town's, I mean, if they get a high, whatever, the town's gonna come out and say, well, it's on your side.
right.
I mean, people are gonna see people over there digging stuff out.
You
Yeah,
still
but-
verify, you guys, because you have to go get the parts to fix your plumbing. I mean, I do it all the time. And I have my receipts.
Does your
Plumber
ordinance,
and he didn't fix
does your
the leak.
ordinance allow for this? Because we struggled with the exemptions based on resolutions and ordinances.
Well, this is a resolution, so we can supersede this resolution or amend it, or probably supersede it, right?
We yes.
We do a new resolution, yeah.
How many times we actually had to?
Oh, if I had a guess, I would say maybe 10 times in the last 2 years. The biggest one was the 110,000 gallons. Typically, it's like 20 to 30,000 gallons, 5,000 gallons.
Most of the time, does the town go out and turn off the water for the people?
We do leak checks, absolutely. We do quite a few of those through the month. Mhm.
So would that be
But
acceptable for,
we've also had people turn a faucet on, just dripping, and it shows a leak.
And I can tell you a situation that happened this summer with the Truesdales that bought Sulphur's old house. I don't know what their total leakage was. I can't remember the number, but their hot water heater sprung a leak in a mobile home, in a closet that they never go to, and it filled up their crawl space that they never saw. The orange tag was put on the front door that they never used. They used the back side door. And so it went quite a while without them noticing it. And I feel so bad for these people. They just moved to town. That happened, which was their problem. They knew the water heater was faulty, but when they got they're getting hit with rate increases, and they're like, "What the heck did we get ourselves into to move into this place?" And I'm like, "Gosh, dang it, it's a better place to live than that, I promise." But that was their situation. I mean, there was a few things that added up that would be really, really hard to catch.
And we were calling, however, people change or get rid of their landlines, and so the majority of phones that we have in the system are no longer in use. And so that's why we went to the door tag system, so that we could at least, hopefully somebody would see an orange tag on their door and stop.
Kevin?
I don't think it's used enough. I think we need to leave it alone, in my opinion. If we do that, then we need to make it a way where they can pay what they have to pay over a couple of payments instead of doing it all in one time.
Well, it says equal monthly payments over a 6-month period, and late fees for that overage shall be waived. You know,
So what would that monthly payment look like for 30,000 gallons? Like, when you split it up into 6 months, I'm just curious. I guess I'm just wondering.
it'd be an extra $70 a month.
How much?
70.
Okay. I mean, because in Sally's defense, I mean, you guys don't have the money to.
You do write off.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I mean, that's not just this, but we're trying to dig ourselves out of a hole. Like, we've got to make some tough changes, unfortunately.
All right, I need. I guess I need a motion or some direction, what you guys want to do with this. We can sit here and look at this all night.
We're the bad guys, no matter what.
I know.
We're kind of stuck on the verify unique. I mean, are there any other ideas on how we can verify? I mean, the honor system is all we have.
Well, yeah, you have to assume that people are gonna be honest, right?
So, Renee, you have a standard operating procedure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That identifies these, so they wouldn't even be able to do this unless they hit that criteria to start with.
Correct, if they hit that criteria,
That's
absolutely.
verification number 1.
Verification number 1.
Is there a second verification in here?
Some of those have turned out to be water left on hoses or bathroom faucets left on by kids. So some of those leaks have turned out to be those kinds of things, which is great because then they don't have a plumbing fee.
Yeah.
So to bring Ken's, if they produced receipts, and even if we did it ourselves and produced that we had to go and buy whatever, that could be the second verification.
So you have verification that there was a leak, and then you have verification that you had it fixed, right? If you supplied receipts for the parts.
And if it was a hose that was left on,
That would be me. The story of my life.
You could do an affidavit in that case.
Dumbass.
unless you just went and bought a bunch of parts and flat out lied. I mean, the honor system, like JP said,
You're relying
You
Right,
hope
right
that all
now.
trees fall self.
Right, because none of us in the office are plumbers, right? And so if you tell us you
Well,
have a leak.
I just thought about something. There's a second verification that comes in when our crew goes out and checks the meter to see if there is a leak, right?
Correct, and that's where I said there's been a few instances in the past where we check for leaks and they want this discount, and so they turn a faucet on so it's dripping, because we don't go in the house. We just ask them, turn your water off so we can check to see if there's water running through the meter. And we've had an instance where that happened, and then we went back while the person was not there and there was no water running through. So we've had some weird things happen.
So you've had someone break the honor system?
We have had somebody break the honor system. Imagine that. Mhm.
Go run to the bathroom and flush the toilet to let it.
Or just
flow.
turn your sink on a little tiny bit. Mm-hmm.
I had the luck of hiring the plumber and he didn't fix it. And I found out next week.
Okay, I'm looking for direction here, guys. Do you want to, are we ready to move on this tonight, or do we want to table this and talk about this?
Well, this one,
What's that?
There's a chance you can tiebreaker.
I've already thought about that, so. I'm waiting for you guys to make a motion one direction or the other. Sally, it's your proposal.
Not today.
I move that the board update resolution number 1, series 24, Big Week. Resolution to include that the town may waiver base rate fees, but the account holder is responsible for water usage, and they've got to pay all the water usage at the $14 per thousand. And for the second verification, for the leak, they need to present receipts of repair of said leak.
Can I ask just a verification question? The base rate, is it waived for 6 months or is it just waived for 1 month?
I would say the 1 month.
Okay.
The month the leak occurs.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to update resolution number 1, series 2024, to include that the town may waive the base rate fees for 1 month, but the user is responsible for all usage, and that a second verification will be required equaling receipts of repair. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. So, discussion.
So does this still continue with the 6 month period for the late fees? Is that still in play?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, are we doing this as, point of clarification, I guess, are we doing this as a, are we doing this as a new resolution, or are, any direction on how?
I would just do it as a new one.
A new resolution?
Yep.
Okay. So, I'm gonna take yours and I'm gonna apply it to this. Is that correct?
That's fine.
Okay.
Do away with what, the 25% and
Okay.
replace replacement.
So, what resolution number are we on for 2026? 7?
I don't know offhand.
Resolution number, whatever it is.
Pick a number.
2026. It's gonna say, a resolution regarding payment of water bills after a water leak, whereas leaks may occur in a water delivery system. Whereas all that stuff in the beginning, I can't read. Now therefore be it resolved, as a general policy, the town shall discount the base rate fee for the first month billing cycle of the overage, and the remaining balance shall be paid in equal monthly payments over a 6-month period, with late fees for the overage being waived. A second verification shall be required by the user to produce receipts of repair. Is that close enough to your?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
That is a motion, and it has been seconded, and now we're discussing resolution number whatever, series 2026. Discussion, JP?
I like it. I've come around.
Okay, Kevin?
I'm good.
Sally?
I'm sorry to ask again this.
I like the, second verification, but that's what she sometimes says.
Any other thoughts? Okay, if there's no more discussion, then we shall vote on the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
And the ayes have it, so resolution passes. Okay. That is all the business on the agenda. Didn't quite keep it below the 2 hours that I told before. So, we had good discussion in the front. Executive session for personnel issues, do we need that?
No.
Okay. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Can I ask a question before you close? It has to do with the protection of these ladies in this office. Have y'all taken that into consideration due to the threat that was made towards them and towards some of the members outside of here? I don't know if you'll need to do a threat assessment, or I'm sure the sheriff's department is involved from what I talked to the ladies about, but for them to feel secure in the workplace, we're talking workplace violence scenarios here, with what transpired and the threats put upon them in the workplace and feeling safe, because they should be able to do daily operations without having to have the doors locked and feel like they're in a cage. I even offered to come stand guard if they needed me to, and full security for them when I wouldn't be at work. Likely, that's not very good with who I work for. Bruce Rydell keeps me pretty busy. But security cameras may not be the only route you need to consider of protecting these ladies in their daily duties, and it's hard for a lot of people to do their business just over by the phone in an appointment. Maybe address it at another future meeting about what can be done to make them feel more secure in the workplace.
Yeah, and to answer your question, yeah, we took those very seriously.
I know y'all did.
And, and we did pass the last meeting, we passed a policy to give them some power to deal with those situations without having to wait for a board meeting.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's just a sad state that we're currently in. It's really sad.
It is.
I'm disappointed.
In the public?
I'm disappointed in our town, because this isn't the spirit of the town that I grew up in.
No.
And I'm pretty sad that I'm currently serving in a figurehead of a community that's acting that way. So
I get it.
I understand being upset, think we're all entitled to be upset, but yeah, that's,
Address it in the proper manner.
yeah, absolutely. Professional and respectful and, yeah, so, thanks for that. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. I adjourn this meeting at 21:05.
Who made that second? What?
Yes.
Y'all need a hug.
Pardon?
Do y'all need a hug?
Thank you. I am. Yep, I
That
put
is
my,
true.
it is, I put my letter
Sorry.
in.
I'm sorry you had this.
Me too. It's been really fun. I've really enjoyed it. Really
You've got a
enjoyed
lot
it.
of things you've been working on and solving, and I think things are gonna slow down with whoever comes in, because they're gonna play catch up. And you know exactly what's going on, and that's gonna hurt things from moving forward for a little while.
And I hope
And when
everybody else
certain
can.
windows and that,
I know, trust me, I weighed that out tremendously because I
I'm
want
sure
this
you did, but
community
your
to
personal
succeed.
protection is.
Absolutely, I have,
How many kids you got now?
I have two kids and I want to go home to them.
You wanna go home now?
Yep, I do.
I get it. Trust me,
Thank you for
I get it.
bringing that up.
And, you know, I've been thinking about.
Yes, are you sure you want to stop?
I get one.